Chosen one, if you're hearing these words right now, it's because heaven has guided you here for a specific reason. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to reveal why you've been feeling that pull towards someone from your past, what the 10-year separation truly means, and most importantly, which of 3 divine paths you're actually walking. This isn't another message about waiting. This is the truth about what's really happening to your soul. Listen, I know what you've been carrying. The weight of wondering if you made the right choice letting them go. The ache that surfaces when that old song plays. The dreams that feel too vivid to ignore. You've asked heaven for a sign, for clarity, for peace. And chosen one, this message is that answer. But I need to warn you, what I'm about to share may not be what you expected to hear. It will challenge everything you believe about divine timing, about soul connections, about that person you can't seem to forget. Yet by the end, you will finally understand what these 10 years have truly been preparing you for. If this resonates deep in your spirit, type 999 below as your sacred confirmation that you're ready to receive this truth. And subscribe, because heaven's guidance for your journey doesn't end here. What unfolds next will require you to stay connected to these messages. Your awakening has only just begun. The awakening. Why this feeling won't leave you alone. Chosen one, let me tell you about the 3 a.m. moment. You know the one I'm talking about. You're lying in bed. The house is completely silent. And suddenly, without warning, their face flashes through your mind. Sharp, clear, like they're standing right there in your bedroom. Your heart starts racing. Your chest tightens. You haven't thought about them in months, maybe even years. And in that dark, quiet moment, you wonder, am I losing my mind? Or is something else happening here? Listen, I need you to hear this. I'm talking directly to you, the one who's been feeling this unexplainable pull, the one who sees their name on a random billboard and your breath catches, the one who hears their favorite song on the radio 3 times in 1 week and wonders if the universe is trying to tell you something, the one who wakes up at exactly 2:47 a.m., the same time you used to talk on the phone back when things were good. You're not crazy. You're not imagining this. Something real is happening in your spirit. Let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 52, lives in Denver, and 8 years ago, she walked through one of the most painful divorces you can imagine. But Margaret did the work. She rebuilt herself from the ground up, started a catering business from her tiny kitchen, poured everything into creating something beautiful from the ashes of her broken marriage. She was proud of herself, strong, independent, whole again. Then one Tuesday morning, she's driving to a client meeting, and an old Bob Dylan song comes on the radio. Suddenly, she's 20 years old again. She's sitting in a college dorm room with a boy named Thomas, and they're talking about changing the world together. The memory hits her so hard, she has to pull over. For the next 7 days, Margaret couldn't shake it. Every quiet moment, Thomas was there, in her thoughts, in her dreams. She felt like she was going crazy. But here's what Margaret didn't know, and what I need you to understand. There's actual science behind what she was experiencing. When 2 people bond deeply, especially during formative years, neural pathways are created in the brain. Real, physical pathways. And those pathways can stay active for decades. This isn't just poetry or mysticism. Neuroscientists call it limbic resonance. When 2 nervous systems become attuned to each other so deeply that the connection doesn't fully dissolve, even across time and distance. And here's something else. At your age, whether you're 45 or 62, your brain enters what researchers call a reflective consolidation phase. You're naturally reviewing your life, processing what mattered, understanding who shaped you. It's why these memories surface now with such intensity. Your brain isn't malfunctioning. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do at this stage of life. But here's where I need to be completely honest with you, because nobody else will tell you this truth. Just because these feelings are real doesn't automatically mean they're about that person thinking of you. And this is the crucial distinction that changes everything. There are 3 possibilities for what you're experiencing. First, mutual resonance. When both of you are genuinely connected spiritually. This is rare, maybe 15% of cases. Second, your healing timeline, the most common at 60%. Your spirit is processing unfinished business about your journey, not necessarily about them returning. Third, projection onto the wrong person, about 25% of the time. You're experiencing a genuine need for connection, but your mind has attached that need to someone from your past because it feels safer than facing the unknown future. Let me tell you about James. He's 58, lives in Chicago, and 4 years ago, he lost his wife to cancer. The grief nearly destroyed him, but slowly, he rebuilt his life. Then he started feeling this overwhelming sense that his high school sweetheart, Caroline, was reaching out to him spiritually. The signs felt so real, so specific. He was convinced heaven was orchestrating their reunion. James hired a private investigator. He spent $1,500 to find Caroline. And here's what he discovered. Caroline had been happily married for 35 years. She had 4 grandchildren. She barely remembered James at all. The truth hit him like a freight train. He wasn't feeling Caroline reaching out. He was feeling his own desperate loneliness, creating a story his broken heart needed to believe. But James's story isn't sad. It's sacred. Because once he understood what was really happening, he could do the actual work. He joined a grief support group, started therapy, and 2 years later, he met someone real, someone present, someone available. So here's the question. Are you feeling them, or are you feeling your own need for connection? Now let me tell you the real reason it's been 10 years, and it's not what you think. Everyone talks about divine timing, but let me tell you what divine timing actually means at our age, and it's not some mystical calendar in the sky. Years 1 through 3 were your survival phase. You were in crisis mode. If they'd come back then, it would have been a disaster. Let me tell you about Patricia. She's 47, lives in Atlanta. Her ex left when she was 37. Broke, 2 young kids, drowning in debt. She spent those first 3 years just trying to breathe, rebuilding her finances, her emotional state, her sense of self-worth. He reached out in year 2, and Patricia almost fell for it. She was so lonely, so desperate for someone to tell her she was lovable again. But her best friend stopped her cold. She said, "Patricia, you're not healed. You're just desperate. And there's a difference." That friend saved her life. Because the truth was, Patricia wasn't ready. She would have given up everything she was building just to feel wanted again. The timing was wrong because she wasn't ready to receive anything healthy. Years 4 through 7 were your building phase. This is when you changed the most. You built your career, raised your kids, discovered your own strength. And yes, you probably dated the wrong people during this time, but you needed to. Every wrong person taught you something essential about what you actually need. Robert is 61, lives in Phoenix. He got divorced at 51 and spent the next 5 years dating 4 different women. None of them were right. One was too controlling. One couldn't commit. One was still bitter about her own divorce. One just wanted his money. But Robert told me something profound. He said, I had to kiss those frogs to remember what a princess actually felt like. Each wrong relationship clarified what he was really looking for. The building phase isn't wasted time. It's education. Years 8 through 10 were your completion phase. And this is where everything shifts. Because somewhere in those final years, you stopped needing someone and started wanting partnership. And that's a completely different energy. Needing is desperate. Wanting is empowered. Needing says, I can't survive without you. Wanting says, I'm whole on my own, but I'd love to share this life with someone. That shift in energy changes everything. And this is when real reunion actually becomes possible. But here's the twist most people miss. The 10 years wasn't preparing you for them. It was preparing you for yourself. And the real, divine timing might mean one of three things. 60% of the time, they come back and you realize you've completely outgrown them. What you wanted at 37 isn't what you need at 47. The person you're remembering doesn't exist anymore, and neither does the version of you who loved them. 30% of the time, someone new arrives who's actually right for who you are now, not who you were. The universe was protecting you from settling for almost right because it knew exactly right was coming. And 10% of the time, you discover you don't need reunion at all. You've become so complete in yourself that partnership becomes optional, not necessary. Let me tell you about Linda. She's 54, lives in Boston. She waited 9 long years for her ex-husband to wake up, to realize what he'd lost, to come back healed and ready. And in year 9, he finally reached out. He wanted to meet for coffee. He'd been thinking about her. He missed her. He was ready to try again. Linda said yes. She got dressed up. Her hands were shaking as she walked into that cafe. And then she saw him. And she felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. She sat across from him for 45 minutes, listening to him talk about his regrets, his therapy, his growth. And all she could think was, I've been in love with a memory, not a man. Linda married someone else in year 10. A kind, stable man she met at a book club. And she told me, my second marriage is healthier than my first ever was, because I'm healthier. The 10 years weren't about him coming back. They were about me becoming someone who didn't need him to. So chosen one, if you're feeling that pull right now, if someone from your past is filling your thoughts, here's what I need you to understand. The feelings are real. The connection was real. But what those feelings mean might be completely different than what you think. And that's exactly what we're going to discover together in the next part. Because now that you understand why this feeling won't leave you alone, it's time to understand which of 3 sacred paths you're actually walking. And I promise you, when you see which one is yours, everything will finally make sense. The truth. What's really happening, and what to do about it. Chosen one, now comes the moment of truth. After working with thousands of people your age going through this exact situation, I've discovered there are only 3 types of divine reunion, and only one of them ends the way you might be hoping. So let me show you which one you're actually in, because understanding this will save you years of confusion and heartache. The first type is what I call the mirror reunion. This is when they do come back into your life, but not to stay. They come back to show you how far you've actually come. They're a mirror reflecting your growth, your healing, your transformation. And once you see that reflection clearly, their purpose is complete. Let me tell you about David. He's 56, lives in Seattle, and his first love from college reached out to him after 30 years of silence. Her name was Rachel, and back in college, she was everything to him. When she ended it, it nearly broke him. So when her email appeared in his inbox, his hands were shaking. They exchanged messages for 3 months. Deep conversations, memories, laughter, hope building with every exchange. David started imagining a future, second chances, divine timing finally arriving. They decided to meet in person. David drove 4 hours to meet her for dinner, and within 20 minutes of sitting across from her, he felt something he didn't expect. Nothing. Well, not nothing, but not what he'd imagined. The chemistry was gone. The connection felt forced. But more than that, he could see clearly now what he couldn't see at 22. Rachel was still bitter, still blaming her ex-husband for everything wrong in her life, still stuck in old patterns of victimhood and complaint. And David? He'd spent 30 years becoming grateful, peaceful, emotionally mature. He'd done the work. She hadn't. He drove home that night with the strangest feeling. Not disappointment, clarity. He realized the reunion wasn't about getting back together. It was about showing him how far he'd traveled. She was the before picture. He was the after. And that gift of perspective was exactly what his spirit needed. So here's how you know if you're in a mirror reunion. You're more excited about the idea of them than actual conversations with them. You feel relief when you don't hear from them for a while. You notice their flaws clearly now, things you were blind to before. And most importantly, you feel complete without needing a next step. The second type is what I call the ghost reunion. This is when they're not actually reaching out at all. You're creating the entire connection in your mind. It's projection during a major life transition, and it's more common than you think. Let me introduce you to Susan. She's 62, lives in Miami, and after 35 years of teaching, she retired. Suddenly, she had all this time and no structure. And within weeks, she became obsessed with her high school boyfriend, Marcus. She was convinced he was sending her signs. She'd see his name everywhere. She'd wake up thinking about him. She felt certain the universe was orchestrating their reunion. Her therapist asked her a simple question. Susan, what else happened when you retired? And that's when it all came tumbling out. She'd lost her identity, her purpose, her daily reason to get up in the morning. For 35 years, she was Mrs. Johnson, the beloved English teacher. Now she was just Susan, and she didn't know who that was anymore. Her mind had created a romantic fantasy to fill the terrifying void of an empty identity. Marcus wasn't sending signs. Her subconscious was creating a distraction from the real grief she needed to face. The grief of a life chapter ending, of aging, of dreams that would never happen now. Her therapist gave her homework. Find a new purpose. She started volunteering at a literacy program, started mentoring young teachers, and within 6 weeks, the obsession with Marcus completely faded. She even laughed about it later. I wasn't missing Marcus. I was missing mattering. So here's how you know if you're in a ghost reunion. The signs are vague and could mean anything. You have no actual contact with this person, just feelings. People close to you are worried about you. The thoughts are interfering with your current life and relationships, and you feel more anxious than peaceful. The third type is the real reunion. This is when the pull is mutual, confirmed by actions, not just feelings. Both of you have grown. Both are available. Both are willing. An actual communication is happening or imminent. I won't lie to you. This is rare. Maybe 10 to 15% of divine reunion feelings are actually this. Let me tell you about Michael and Carol. They're both 59 now, living in Portland. They were high school sweethearts who split at 20. Both married other people. Both had children. Both got divorced after long marriages. Both spent years healing, growing, building independent lives. They reconnected at their 40th high school reunion, and both felt it immediately, but different than before. Deeper, more grounded, more real. But here's what made it work. They took it slow, really slow. They dated for 2 full years before Michael even moved in. They went to couples therapy before they had problems, not after. They learned each other's triggers, patterns, and needs, and they're now married 5 years. Carol told me something beautiful. She said, "This is better than the first time because we're better people. We're not trying to complete each other. We're 2 whole people choosing to walk together." Here's how you know if you're in a real reunion. Actual contact exists, not just feelings or signs. Both of you are single and emotionally available. Your conversations are deep, mature, and authentic. You feel more peace than anxiety. Friends and family say, "This is different." And there are no games, no drama, just honest alignment. But even in real reunions, chosen one, 40% still don't work out long term. And that's okay, because the growth is the point, not the outcome. Now, chosen one, I need you to sit with something, because this next question will change absolutely everything about how you move forward. And I need you to answer it with complete honesty, just between you and heaven. Nobody else is listening. Here's the question. If you knew for certain they would never come back, would you be okay? Really sit with that for a moment. Let it sink in. If you knew, beyond any doubt, that this person would never return to your life, would you still be okay? There are 2 possible answers, and each one reveals a completely different truth about what's really happening. If your answer is, "No, I'd be devastated," then chosen one, I need to tell you something with love. You're in a ghost reunion. This isn't about them. It's about you avoiding your real life. The fantasy of them returning has become a way to not face what's actually missing. Purpose, identity, courage to try again with someone new. Let me tell you about Tom. He's 64 now. He spent 12 years waiting for a woman named Diane to realize they were meant to be. 12 years. Meanwhile, a wonderful woman named Beth worked in his office. She was kind, available, interested. She invited him to coffee 3 times. He said no every time because he was waiting for the right one. Beth eventually married someone else, and in year 13, Tom finally hired a therapist. He realized the devastating truth. Diane barely remembered him. She'd moved on decades ago. He'd wasted 12 years of his life waiting for a ghost, while real love was standing right in front of him. Tom told me through tears, "I wasn't honoring divine timing. I was hiding from real intimacy behind a safe fantasy." He's doing the work now, but he'll never get those 12 years back. If this is you, your next step isn't romantic hope. It's a grief counselor. It's facing what you're really avoiding. It's getting honest about why a fantasy feels safer than reality. But if your answer is, "I'd be sad, but yes, I'm okay," then you're in either a mirror reunion or a real reunion. And here's what matters. You're whole either way. That's the key. You're not dependent on them returning. You're complete on your own. Let me tell you about Angela. She's 51. For 10 years, she carried a quiet hope that her college love, Daniel, would come back. But she didn't wait. She dated. She built a beautiful life. She stayed open, but she didn't put her life on hold. In year 11, Daniel reached out. He'd gotten divorced. He wanted to try again. And you know what Angela did? She said no, because by then, she was engaged to a man named Marcus, a man who'd shown up consistently, who'd done the work, who was emotionally available and ready. Daniel's return confirmed something important, that she'd been right to trust the connection. But it also confirmed that she'd outgrown who they used to be together. She chose Marcus, and she has zero regrets. She told me, "I honored the feeling, but I didn't sacrifice my life to it, and that made all the difference." Now let me tell you about Eleanor, because her story will break your heart open in the most beautiful way. Eleanor is 67, lives in Oregon. She lost her husband to cancer when she was 57. The grief almost destroyed her. But slowly, over 8 years, she rebuilt her life. She joined support groups, started painting again, learned how to be Eleanor, not just Tom's wife. Then out of nowhere, an old boyfriend from 40 years ago reached out. His name was Paul. He'd been widowed too. They started talking. Old feelings stirred. They dated for 6 months. And then Eleanor realized something. Paul wasn't the destination. He was the bridge. He reminded her that her heart could still feel, that she wasn't dead inside, that love was still possible. But Paul wasn't the right person. They were too different now. Different values, different life goals. They ended things kindly. And 2 months later, Eleanor met Jerry at her grief support group. They understood each other's pain. They'd both done the work. They got married last year at 66. Eleanor told me something I'll never forget. She said, "Paul was a gift. He woke my heart back up. But I almost missed Jerry because I was so focused on making Paul work. Sometimes heaven sends someone to open the door, not to walk through it with you." So here's what 10 years of separation really teaches you, chosen one. It's not about getting them back. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need them back. The divine timing isn't when they return. It's when you're so whole, so complete, so at peace with yourself that their return becomes optional, not necessary. And that's when you're truly ready. For them, or for someone better, or for the beautiful life you've built on your own. So what do you actually do with all this? What's your next step? Let me give you something practical, something you can do starting Monday morning. Step 1, the honest assessment. Days 1 and 2. Get a journal. Write down which type you're really in. Type 1, mirror. Type 2, ghost. Type 3, real. Be brutally honest. No one's reading this but you. And if you're unsure, assume type 2 until proven otherwise. Step 2, the reality check. Days 3 and 4. If you're in type 1 or 2, schedule a therapy appointment this week, not eventually. This week. If you're in type 3, reach out honestly and directly. No games. Try this. I've been thinking about you. No agenda, just honest. Are you open to a real conversation? Step 3, the life inventory. Days 5 through 7. List 5 things you've been putting off until they come back. Maybe it's a trip you wanted to take, a room you wanted to redecorate, a class you wanted to join, a person you wanted to ask out. Pick one. Do it this week. Your life cannot be on hold anymore. And chosen one, hear this clearly. You have permission to hope and permission to move on. They're not opposites. They're both parts of being fully alive at this age. You can hold the door open for possibility while still walking forward with your life. 10 years ago, you needed them to feel complete. Today, you're complete whether they show up or not. That's the real divine timing. That's what heaven was trying to tell you all along. You're not waiting for them to complete you. You're discovering you were never incomplete at all. Chosen one, your journey doesn't end here. It's just beginning. If this message resonated deep in your soul, subscribe now. Heaven has more revelations waiting for you, and I'll be here to deliver every sacred truth. Drop 999 in the comments as your confirmation. Your breakthrough is closer than you think. Walk forward in peace, beloved.